let's talk Caitlyn Clark.
Number one factor in her popularity is her ability and how entertaining she is to watch. That's why she's become internationally popular. That's why the record books have her name at the top of them.
She was remarkable, on top of the fact that she had to deal with so much hate when she got to the WNBA.
Natalie Esquire says, Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the WNBA. That hasn't changed because she has a down year returning from injury. The disrespect on her name was ridiculous.
There's been a lot of chatter out there that I ain't got it, and I'm here, man.
But is she better than Caitlyn Clark? Statistically, nope.
Natalie, I believe it said last year that a compromised Chelsea Gray was 10 times better than Caitlyn Clark.
Caitlyn Clark just got attacked. Again. And this time, it wasn't on the court. It wasn't a rival player throwing an elbow or an unnecessary flagrant foul. No, this was a direct media assault by none other than WNBA reporter Natalie Esquire, a name that's becoming synonymous with biased narratives and anti-Clark rhetoric.
And this is a WNBA reporter, people, but it's like you can't say something like this and not get called out, and she is definitely getting called out.
But here's the kicker. Natalie isn't just pushing another false narrative, she's got an agenda. First, she backed A'ja Wilson, downplaying Caitlyn's record-breaking performances.
Natalie Esquire also claimed that Caitlyn Clark was stat padding. She's also a big Aces fan. When the Aces were losing and they got Chelsea Gray back and they went on a really hot streak, after one game of winning, Natalie Esquire put them from number 6 to number 1 in beating the Liberty, which obviously was not really a good take.
And now she's shifting gears, elevating Chelsea Gray as the so-called best point guard in the league, all while completely ignoring the cold, hard stats that prove otherwise.
Frankly, Caitlyn Clark is the best point guard in the history of the WNBA already. Caitlyn Clark had tied the WNBA record for most career games with 25 points and 10 assists. No one is scoring and dishing at the rate Caitlyn Clark is in the history of the WNBA.
It's the same old pattern. Downplay Caitlyn Clark, uplift black players, and rewrite reality to fit a divisive narrative. But why? Why does this keep happening? Why do we see the same cycle of biased media figures refusing to acknowledge Clark's dominance? And more importantly, how do we expose these lies for what they really are?
And Natalie Esquire is not new to putting down the efforts of Caitlyn Clark and what she has accomplished in the previous season. 7 months ago, when the season was in, Natalie Esquire also claimed that Caitlyn Clark was stat padding and posted this on her social media account. Are we going to be upset tonight that Caitlyn tried to chase the franchise assist record when the game was already won? I have no issue with her doing it because that's normal behavior and actually what many competitors do. This was obviously in her response to a lot of people going off about Angel Reese's double-double stat padding.
Get ready, because we're about to break it all down. The receipts are in, the hypocrisy is clear, and Natalie Esquire is about to get humbled. Natalie Esquire has once again proven that she is not here to report facts. She is here to push an agenda. In her latest attempt to rewrite reality, she boldly declared that Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the WNBA, conveniently ignoring the statistical dominance of Caitlyn Clark. This isn't just a case of a sports analyst expressing an opinion. This is a deliberate effort to diminish Clark's success and elevate a player who simply does not have the numbers to justify such a claim.
Let's get into the stat. Best point guard in the WNBA, Caitlyn Clark. In her one professional season in the WNBA, Caitlyn Clark came away with an average of 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds for the season. Let's check out Chelsea Gray's stats. Chelsea Gray averaged 8.6 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 4.9 assists. But let's check out the year before. She did average 15.3 points a game, not bad, right? She averaged 4 rebounds and 7.3 assists. Still is not better than Caitlyn Clark's averages. There is not one year where she averaged more points than Caitlyn Clark. There is not one year where she averaged more assists than Caitlyn Clark.
The facts speak for themselves. In her very first professional season, Caitlyn Clark put up an astonishing 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. Meanwhile, Chelsea Gray, even in her best seasons, has never matched those numbers. Not in points, not in assists, not in rebounds. Yet Natalie insists on calling her the best. This isn't just bias, it's dishonesty. And it begs the question, why does Natalie refuse to acknowledge Caitlyn Clark's achievements? The answer becomes clear when you look at the pattern that has emerged throughout Caitlyn Clark's career. Every time Clark accomplishes something historic, there is always a voice, often from the same group of analysts, trying to downplay it. They say she's stat padding when she breaks records. They say she's only popular because of her race when she dominates headlines. And now, with Clark statistically proving herself as the best point guard in the WNBA, they are scrambling for a new narrative.
There's been a lot of chatter out there that I ain't got it, and I'm here, man. So quiet the noise and keep playing my game. Having fun and doing it. I enjoy this game and I love it so much. So playing with them all the time and they got my back, so having fun.
Instead of facing the truth that Clark is simply that good, they pivot to another talking point. This time it's Chelsea Gray, a player who, despite being talented, does not have the numbers to support the claim that she is the best. It's not an analysis, it's an agenda. This is exactly what Natalie Esquire is doing. She isn't looking at stats. She isn't analyzing the game fairly. She is pushing a narrative that benefits one group of players while tearing down another. She doesn't want to talk about how Caitlyn Clark set records for most 25-point 10-assist games. She doesn't want to acknowledge that Clark had a rookie season that surpassed many veterans in the league. She doesn't want to admit that from an offensive standpoint, Clark is already one of the most impactful players the WNBA has ever seen. Instead, she wants to create a false reality where players like Chelsea Gray are given unearned credit just to prevent Clark from getting the recognition she deserves.
He was asked about Caitlyn Clark.
Coach Krzyzewski, listen to what he said.
Yeah, well, she's terrific. And it'd be easy to build something on her because she's very young. The best thing she does is pass. She's a magical passer and she has a great feel for the game. So, I mean, what her coach did, I would have done exactly what she did. Make sure she handles the ball a lot and she'll make everybody better. And what I was amazed with at how she's handled all the defenses. And then when she got into the WNBA, some of the negativity that was out there or jealousies. And I think she's just been remarkable. She's a really good basketball player. Yeah.
This isn't the first time Natalie Esquire has gone out of her way to undermine Caitlyn Clark. Months ago, she accused Clark of stat padding when she broke a franchise assist record. Instead of celebrating Clark's ability to elevate her team, Natalie tried to paint her as selfish, as if she was chasing numbers for personal gain rather than playing the game at an elite level. But when Angel Reese aggressively chased a double-double for the sake of breaking a rookie record, Natalie had nothing to say. No criticism, no questioning, just silence. The double standard is glaring and it exposes the real motivation behind her words. The problem isn't just that Natalie is wrong, it's that she is influencing the way the media and casual fans perceive Caitlyn Clark.
For me, if Rookie of the Year was picked today, I give it to Angel. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it. If Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlyn should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlyn Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be. I set the record in 5 games, right?
Yeah.
Because back then, we had a first-round bye.
Oh,
so
okay.
we didn't get to play, I didn't get that 6 games. So I set the record in 5 games.
Took her extra game.
Well, I'm just saying.
You can say that.
No, listen. If I have 6 games,
The record's different.
well, I'm gonna have another 30. But I don't really care what the record is, who has the record.
When a reporter with a platform spreads falsehoods, it trickles down into the way Clark is treated by opponents, referees, and even other analysts. We've already seen how Clark has been targeted on the court. Hard fouls, blatant elbows, and disrespectful behavior from players who seem to have personal resentment toward her. And now, off the court, analysts like Natalie Esquire are working to strip her of the credit she has rightfully earned. But facts don't lie. No matter how much Natalie tries to push her narrative, she cannot erase the numbers. She cannot erase the reality that Caitlyn Clark, in just her first season, has already cemented herself as a top-tier talent.
Now Caitlyn Clark has been getting comparisons to the most famous person in the world at this point in time, Taylor Swift. White was giving a comparison to the star status of Caitlyn Clark, and she stated this precisely. She said, quote, "She's incredibly humble. She understands the big picture. So she views it understanding her celebrity. She's a Midwest kid, a Midwest person, and she is who she is. She tries to live her life in an authentic way, but she's very much Taylor Swift 2.0.
She cannot erase the impact Clark has had on the WNBA, bringing record-breaking viewership, ticket sales, and revenue to a league that was struggling for mainstream attention before she arrived. Natalie can try to ignore these truths, but they won't go away.
The WNBA has never even been talked about in the past. So now to say that you have somebody whose celebrity is as mainstream and as Taylor Swift, that is actually incredible if you think about it.
The only thing she's accomplishing is exposing herself as a biased analyst who refuses to acknowledge greatness when it comes in a form she doesn't want to accept. Caitlyn Clark doesn't need Natalie's approval to be great. She has already proven it on the court. She has already proven it with her stats, her leadership, and her ability to elevate not just her team, but the entire league. And no matter how many times analysts like Natalie Esquire try to rewrite the story, the facts will always remain the same. Caitlyn Clark is the best point guard in the WNBA, and nothing they say will ever change that.
She hasn't just had a major impact on the WNBA. She's had a major impact on the entire city of Indianapolis. Dr. Ryan Brewer calculated that Clark has made the city of Indianapolis $36 million in her rookie season. The calculation showed that Clark contributed to 26.5% of the WNBA's economic activity this season. If pay raises are in order, Caitlyn Clark needs to be the first one getting a pay raise.
Natalie Esquire's biased reporting isn't just a one-time event. It's part of a larger pattern that has been building for months. And if we dig a little deeper, it becomes clear that this is more than just a personal dislike of Caitlyn Clark. Natalie has consistently aligned herself with A'ja Wilson, another player who has made it no secret that she believes black athletes should be the ones leading the WNBA in popularity and success. This isn't speculation. It's all there in her words, interactions, and in the way she selectively chooses who to support and who to tear down.
She drew a WNBA record, 1.84 million viewers to her first playoff game against the Connecticut Sun. And the reason that this is important because this game took place on an NFL Sunday. To know that she did this up against NFL competition also speaks volumes. So after she was eliminated, the ratings nowhere close to what the WNBA experienced with Caitlyn Clark on the court. They drew an audience of 929,000 according to ESPN. That's 50% less audience members than the Fever's Game 1 against the Sun. We have seen a tremendous drop-off when Caitlyn Clark is not on the court.
When Caitlyn Clark began receiving national attention, A'ja Wilson was one of the first to make dismissive comments, downplaying Clark's popularity by implying it was solely due to her being white rather than her actual talent. And who was right there to defend and amplify Wilson's message? None other than Natalie Esquire. Let's not forget how, months ago, A'ja Wilson publicly voiced her frustrations about the way the media covered Caitlyn Clark.
Caitlyn Clark's popularity is tied to her whiteness. What Nike and Caitlyn Clark are known for as of right now is the fact that they have set on Caitlyn Clark as what is their most valuable asset. How great would A'ja be if she didn't have that mentality? Because she can play. She plays all the time. Nobody watches.
Instead of acknowledging that Clark's popularity was fueled by her game, Wilson suggested that race played a major role in why Clark was getting attention. But this argument collapses under the weight of reality. Clark's rise to fame didn't come out of nowhere. She earned it by breaking NCAA records, delivering jaw-dropping performances, and single-handedly bringing millions of new eyes to women's basketball. And yet, rather than respecting Clark's impact, Wilson and her supporters, including Natalie, tried to twist the narrative into something else.
But I love my teammates so much that I will take any hit from them. Good, bad, ugly, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to be the best. I get y'all saying best player in the world. That's great. It looks great.
I think it's a huge thing. I think a lot of people say it's not about black and white, but to me, it is. It's really because you can be the top notch at what you do as a black woman, but maybe there's something that people don't want to see. Wilson said to the Associated Press.
One of the more interesting aspects of this fanhood is that some of the biggest supporters of Caitlyn Clark are not whites. They're actually black males.
Natalie's defense of A'ja Wilson wasn't just about basketball. It was about reinforcing the idea that certain players should be at the top regardless of their stats or impact. It was about ensuring that Clark's success remained overshadowed by a player who fit Natalie's preferred image of what a WNBA superstar should look like. And this is where the hypocrisy is most obvious. When A'ja Wilson dominates a game, she is celebrated. When Chelsea Gray makes a flashy pass, she is called the best point guard. But when Caitlyn Clark statistically proves herself to be the most impactful point guard in the WNBA, suddenly Natalie and others want to change the conversation. Suddenly, stats don't matter. Suddenly, Clark's influence on ticket sales, viewership, and revenue is dismissed. The goal is clear: erase Caitlyn Clark from the narrative and prop up someone else in her place, even when the numbers don't justify it.
Us as black women, Paige reminds me a lot of you. Like, you say you're not really about me. And she knows how her privilege has gotten her to that point. And also, like, she's good at basketball. But, like, she understands her privilege and like, pushes her over the top in a sense. It reminds me a lot of you. And I mean, that's a compliment.
And I think in overall popularity, does her race play a factor? Nominal. Women's basketball has had a cornucopia of talented white and black women's basketball players. Elena Delle Donne is white, is she not? Sue Bird, white, is she not? A'ja Wilson's black. Cynthia Cooper, black. Like, you can go back through, and it's actually a lot more. There's gay and there's straight. There's black and there's white. There's tall and there's short.
Natalie Esquire has used her platform not to report facts, but to manipulate perceptions. She wants the public to believe that Clark is overrated, that her success is exaggerated, and that other players, specifically black players, are more deserving of the spotlight. But here's the reality she refuses to face. Caitlyn Clark is already one of the greatest the WNBA has ever seen, and no amount of biased reporting can change that. Even legendary basketball minds like Duke's Coach K have publicly stated that Clark is the best point guard in the history of the league from an offensive creation standpoint. That's not a random opinion. It's an assessment from one of the most respected figures in the sport. But Natalie doesn't care about expert opinions. She doesn't care about stats. She doesn't care about the truth. She cares about pushing a narrative that keeps Clark from receiving the credit she deserves. And she isn't alone in this. The way the WNBA media and certain players have worked together to downplay Clark's achievements while uplifting others exposes a clear agenda.
Jealousy and envy and delusion all mixed together. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're delusional. People are watching these games because of Caitlyn Clark. Oh boy, if I say what I really think, these black women and these feminist white women are not going to sleep with me. And I may lose my job. They're going to come after my job. We're not in position to say, shut up.
36 million she drove to Indianapolis just by showing up as a rookie and making history. And so I understand her point of view. She wants to probably let other athletes shine. And she also says, like, it's earned, not given. There are other people that can use that spotlight to compete as well. So I think Caitlyn, she moves because she knows people follow her no matter where she goes. And she's very strategic about dictating where her value is.
If Caitlyn Clark were black, would Natalie still be so eager to diminish her success? Would A'ja Wilson still be making comments about how race impacts media coverage? Or would they both be celebrating her as one of the greatest young stars the league has ever seen?
She could have just said, hey, y'all lay off Caitlyn Clark, let's embrace her. But nope, her frail-ass ego was jealous of Caitlyn Clark's popularity.
The hypocrisy is undeniable. Caitlyn Clark has done nothing but play the game at the highest level, breaking records, improving her team, and elevating the entire WNBA in the process. Yet, instead of being respected for that, she is constantly scrutinized, constantly undermined, and constantly forced to prove herself in ways that other players never have to. Natalie Esquire and A'ja Wilson don't want to acknowledge Clark's greatness, because doing so would mean admitting that a white player has revolutionized the WNBA in a way that no one else has. It would mean admitting that Clark's talent alone is responsible for her fame, not her race, not media bias, just her pure basketball excellence. And for people like Natalie, that truth is too much to handle. But here's the good news. Truth doesn't need their approval. Caitlyn Clark's impact is real, and no amount of dishonesty will erase it. She is the face of the WNBA, whether Natalie and A'ja Wilson like it or not. And as much as they try to control the narrative, the facts will always speak louder than their agenda-driven opinions.
Caitlyn Clark agent named Aaron Kane is calling for higher WNBA salaries in the midst of the WNBA. It is the Caitlyn Clark effect, I do believe, that has helped to elevate the entire league. So when you look at the salaries league-wide, including Caitlyn Clark's, they're very embarrassing.
Caitlyn Clark's impact on the WNBA isn't just about her stats or her ability to dominate on the court. It's about the entire league benefiting from what she brings. Yet, despite her undeniable contributions, people like Natalie Esquire refuse to acknowledge the economic transformation Clark has sparked. Instead of celebrating the fact that Clark has single-handedly raised the WNBA's visibility, increased ticket sales, boosted merchandise revenue, and drawn millions of new fans to the sport, Natalie and her allies continue their campaign to downplay her significance.
Caitlyn Clark was just paid over $78,000 this past year as her salary. When you look at what the NBA players are making, nowhere close. Like, not even a drop in the bucket. $78,000, come on. For a professional athlete, come on. We don't really need to say more than that.
But here's the reality they can't escape. Caitlyn Clark isn't just the best point guard in the WNBA, she is the biggest reason the league is even experiencing the level of success it is today. The numbers don't lie. Clark, in her rookie season alone, generated millions in revenue for the WNBA and the city of Indianapolis. An economic expert, Dr. Ryan Brewer, estimated that Clark's presence contributed $36 million to the Indianapolis economy in her first season. That's one player in one city driving that kind of financial impact. On top of that, Clark was responsible for a staggering 26.5% of the WNBA's total economic activity last season. This isn't a small boost, this is a historic transformation. And yet, despite these undeniable contributions, Clark is making just $78,000 a year from her WNBA contract, a salary that is laughable compared to what male athletes make for far less impact. And worse, rather than recognizing her for elevating everyone in the league, Natalie Esquire and others continue to act as if Clark is undeserving of the attention she gets. Let's put this into perspective. When Clark played her first ever playoff game against the Connecticut Sun, she drew a WNBA record 1.84 million viewers. And this wasn't just any regular game, it happened on an NFL Sunday, one of the toughest days of the week to compete for ratings. Despite this, Clark managed to bring in more viewers than any previous WNBA playoff game, and it didn't stop there. In Game 2 of the same series, Clark shattered her own record, bringing in 2.5 million viewers. The numbers speak for themselves. Caitlyn Clark is the reason more people than ever are watching the WNBA. But what happened when Clark was eliminated? The WNBA's ratings plummeted. The first playoff game without her, a matchup between the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty, two of the league's most dominant teams, brought in only 929,000 viewers. That's nearly a 50% drop from the ratings Clark generated. That's how massive her influence is. Yet instead of embracing her as the key to growing the league, the WNBA, its media, and players like A'ja Wilson and Chelsea Gray have tried to push her out of the spotlight.
Most points by a point guard in a season in WNBA history. Most double-doubles by a rookie guard in WNBA history. Most points by a rookie in WNBA history. Most assists by a rookie in the history of the WNBA. First WNBA rookie to record 2 triple-doubles. First triple-double by a rookie in WNBA history. First triple-double in Fever history. The first player to be named WNBA Player of the Month and Rookie of the Month in the same month. First player in WNBA history with 20 or more points, 15 or more assists, and 5 or more rebounds in a game. She won Rookie of the Month 4 times. Eastern Conference Player of the Week 3 times, single season rookie record for assists, single season rookie record for 3-pointers, single game record for assists, 19, franchise record for most double-doubles, 3-pointers, career 10 or more assists in a game, franchise record for most career 10 or more assists in a game. Fastest WNBA player to reach 100 3-pointers, she did it in 34 games, most assists by a rookie in a WNBA All-Star game for which she received the most fan votes ever, 700,000 of those. Fastest player to reach 350 points and 150 assists to start a season regardless of years in the league, people will say, pay more attention to the other folks. Like, she couldn't do it herself. You know, LeBron has teammates, Jordan had teammates. I understand.
I think that experiencing it, I love Caitlyn Clark fans, but Caitlyn Clark fans is different. They like C-Square, shout out to the gang, like different. They are very passionate people, and like they gonna ride or die. Like,
listen, Caitlyn Clark is a god to her friends. She does no wrong. Do not play. Do not play with her fans.
Let's just say C-Square, I'm happy I'm on the right end of it.
We on the right end of the stick, baby, because
I hate to be.
Listen,
because
they love us right now. But if we go right and left, it's over for us.
Caitlyn Clark fans, I love you back. I promise. Please don't.
Yeah.
Like her fan, but like the one thing I would say about Caitlyn Clark fans that I can't appreciate, they'll go anywhere she go.
Oh, they gonna travel. She gonna travel.
And
right there. Right
I
there
just
with
think
her.
like it's super dope though, because it's like they would literally go anywhere she go, and so she's built that kind of platform. I'm like, damn, that's lit.
Natalie Esquire, of course, won't acknowledge this. She won't discuss how Clark's presence has resulted in higher salaries for everyone in the league. She won't admit that Clark is literally making other WNBA players more money by bringing in new fans, sponsorships, and media deals. Instead, she continues to back players who would not have this level of financial opportunity if it weren't for Clark. And let's be clear, this isn't a situation where Clark is demanding all the credit. In fact, she has gone out of her way to advocate for better pay for all WNBA players. Her own agent, Aaron Kane, has been fighting for the league to increase salaries, knowing that the WNBA is now in a financial position to do so, thanks largely to Clark's presence. But instead of being grateful, players like Aja Wilson and Chelsea Gray, with the full backing of media figures like Natalie Esquire, continue to act as if Clark is some sort of problem rather than a gift to the league. This isn't just hypocrisy, it's outright jealousy. Clark is making a level of impact that no player before her has, and instead of admitting it, they're doing everything they can to push a false narrative. But at the end of the day, money talks. The WNBA can try to undermine her, analysts like Natalie can try to erase her, and other players can try to discredit her, but the truth remains the same. Caitlyn Clark is the most valuable player in the WNBA, not just on the court, but in every way that matters. Without her, this league would still be struggling for relevance, and if she were to walk away tomorrow, the entire WNBA would immediately feel the loss. That's the truth Natalie Esquire refuses to acknowledge. That's the reality that Aja Wilson and Chelsea Gray don't want to admit. And that's the reason why Caitlyn Clark will always have the last laugh, because no matter how hard they try, they cannot erase the impact she has made. At the end of the day, the truth is impossible to ignore. No matter how many times biased reporters like Natalie Esquire try to manipulate the narrative, no matter how often players like Aja Wilson and Chelsea Gray attempt to undermine Caitlyn Clark's success, and no matter how much resentment exists toward Clark for simply being great, the facts will always remain. Clark is not just the best point guard in the WNBA. She is the most impactful player the league has ever seen. Her stats prove it. The record-breaking viewership numbers prove it. The massive revenue boost to the league proves it. And yet, instead of celebrating her contributions, the same people who benefit from her success are the ones leading the charge to diminish her. Natalie Esquire has been exposed for what she truly is, a biased reporter with an agenda. She isn't interested in fair analysis, and she certainly isn't interested in acknowledging the numbers. Instead, she chooses to uplift players like Chelsea Gray and Aja Wilson, not because they have outperformed Caitlyn Clark, but because they fit the narrative she wants to push. And this isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about something much deeper. It's about the refusal to accept that a white player has come into the league and, within a single season, accomplished what no one else before her has. It's about jealousy. It's about resentment. And it's about control. But here's the problem with their approach. They cannot erase Caitlyn Clark. They can try to push misleading narratives. They can ignore her historic stats. They can dismiss her financial impact on the league. But at the end of the day, Clark's greatness is undeniable. She has already changed the WNBA forever, and she is only getting started. What's happening now is nothing more than a desperate attempt to hold on to power in a league that has already been reshaped by Clark's presence. And let's not forget the ultimate irony in all of this. While these analysts and players are busy trying to downplay her, Caitlyn Clark remains focused on the game. She isn't engaging in petty media battles. She isn't making excuses. She is simply playing basketball at a level that no one else can match. And that is exactly why she continues to rise, while the ones trying to tear her down are left scrambling to explain why their false narratives keep collapsing. So let Natalie Esquire say whatever she wants. Let Aja Wilson and Chelsea Gray continue their attempts to redirect the spotlight. Let the media try to rewrite history. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is what happens on the court. And as long as Caitlyn Clark is on that court, dominating in a way that no one else can, the truth will always win.